Landon Gilfillan here with Pepper and Pine Design, and I wanted to give you an update on the growth that's happening in my Greenstalk Vertical Planter. I've done a couple videos on this, one showing the assembly of it, one talking about what I'm growing in it this year, which is mainly leafy greens. That's right off my back patio here, so I can just come out before lunch or dinner and grab some herbs and greens for a salad. And I had to look back at my calendar. I'm pretty sure I planted most of these things 30 to 40 days ago. And the purpose behind that was to be able to have an early spring garden that I could be eating from in a month. I was tired of buying salad greens. I wanted to get this thing planted. I was growing some greens at my house, but I moved a lot of them out here, started some things from seed. I lost a couple of things to a hard freeze, but for the most part, everything really has started to take off. As you can see here, this is my Butter Crunch lettuce that has done amazing, even in the coldest of cold temperatures. It has pulled through and done really good. That's why you're seeing all this green here. I've got cilantro and parsley and spinach and kale and some mustards out here. I'll kind of do a little panoramic of it here in a second, but I love these planters. I actually wish I had one more, if not two more, to plant all my strawberry plants in. This is a great planter to do strawberries in. Number one, because it keeps them off the ground, away from little critters that want to eat them, and you can cover it really easily to keep it from the birds. So in the future, I'm probably going to be getting another one of these to be doing my strawberry plants in. But this is just a really great way to grow vertically if you don't have a lot of space. And even if you do have a lot of space, it's just a great tool for things like this, like leafy greens and herbs, and I love it. So here's the cilantro I planted at least a month, if not longer. And this just goes to show how much cilantro can handle those colder temperatures, because we had temperatures down in the at least 29 and maybe not a little bit below, and they've done fine. They haven't been affected hardly at all by those hard freezes. As have the Butter Crunch here. The Butter Crunch has done great. It's handled those lower temperatures. I would still come cover them up with a frost cloth on those really cold nights just to be sure. But they look great. I mean, you can tell they're the ones that have really thrived. I did lose some baby greens up here, but that was because they were kind of weak anyway from trying to grow them indoors. So I had moved them out here to give them more space, and then we had a frost and a lot of them died, but I replanted some of them pulled through. So these will be coming up here, these baby greens, baby salad greens. I've got kales planted throughout that I'm going to be using for the leaves. They won't get as big as the ones I have out in my big gardens. All of these are going to be like pick and go, come and go. What do they call it? Come and pick and cut. Pick and go, where I'm just going to be harvesting the outside leaves so they can be planted more closely together, since I'll be harvesting from the outside of them. Now here, these are pretty thickly sown. I'm going to try to transplant them when they get a little bit bigger, because what you can do when they get another set of leaves is you can just very gently pull out their little root. You can stick a hole down where you want to put them and put them in there, because I've got a couple spots that for whatever reason don't have anything growing in them or have like one plant. So I'll just do an example here, even though I don't think they're quite ready to transplant, but I'll give you an idea. This one right here, I'm just going to very gently grab the stem and pull up. Their root is not very developed right now because they're so small. And then what I'll do is I'll just come stick a hole where I want it in here. I'll stick it down in that hole and then just gently press the soil around it to keep it in that spot. Now, it may or may not make it. We have a freeze coming tonight that may kill it. But I'm not too worried. I have plenty of them. I'm just doing this for a demonstration that when they get about this size or even more like this size, this is a good size to pull them out and then transplant them like that. So instead of having to kill all these seedlings, and I may have to trim a couple of them, just wait till they get a little bit bigger. There's plenty of food in here for them now, and they're not overcrowding yet. When they get a little bit bigger like this, just gently pull up at the stem and you can just transplant them into another space. And that way you're not having to, I hate killing seedlings, so that saves you from that. I've got spinach growing down here, Bloomsdale long-standing spinach. So like these will be fine in here together. because I'll just be harvesting these leaves. But if I wanted to transplant it, this one right here is a good size to do that with. And I'm pretty sure over here I've got a lot of mustards. Yeah, this is a mustard mix, all the different colors. There might even be some spinach in here as well. So spinach and mustards, I may have to transplant a couple of those, but again, I can just pop them out. This is Toscana kale. So I purposely only put one plant in here because these can get rather big. This is parsley and more lettuce greens. This is thyme coming back from last year, which is cool. Thyme or tarragon. I'd have to look at watch my video, but it looks like thyme stems and more mustards. So anyway, this is fun. This is fun to see, and we're going to start eating from this like here in the next week, especially with those salad greens. Over here, I've been hardening off my warm-loving plants. We've had some really nice weather outside lately, and even though these are nowhere near ready to go out because we still have temperatures down in the 30s out through, early May, the daytime temperatures have been, and the nighttime temperatures have been above 50 degrees this past week. So I have just left them outside basically all week long. If the sun, this is the southern part of our house. So if the sun has gotten really hot, I've put up like a barrier here to give them some shade, because they're not, because I'm hardening them off. They're not quite ready for that direct sun. But honestly, after a week of this, they'll be really ready to go out in the garden very soon. This next week we have temperatures dropping below the 40s, so all of these will have to go back inside starting tonight because those temperatures are too low for them. But once the temperatures warm back up above 50 degrees, I can bring them back outside to continue hardening off. So as I just mentioned, we are having a freeze tonight. I think it's getting down to 32. At one point, the weather was showing lows of 29, which is so frustrating when you've had all this beautiful weather and then we go back to snow and freeze. And anyway, I have these plants that I really, really wanted to put in the ground this past week. These are cabbages, cauliflowers, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, and strawberries. All plants, with maybe the exception of Brussels sprouts, all plants that can handle those colder temperatures. But because of what happened last week, losing all those cold, hardy plants to the freeze, I'm just playing it safe, and those are all going to go in the garage tonight. And over the next couple days when we have these lows, I'll bring them out during the day, but they'll be tucked away at night to make sure that they don't die in this freeze. I want to show you what I'm doing to make sure that they survive the freeze tonight. Again, everything out here is supposed to tolerate a light to moderate, even hard freeze, some of these plants. But after what happened, I'm just not willing to take the risk. So I'll show you some of the things that I did yesterday and that I'll be doing tonight before the temperatures drop to make sure that these plants are protected. Mulching is a great way to insulate your plants. It gives them an added measure of protection, having a nice warm mulch around their roots and around their stems. My son and I came out here yesterday and basically filled in a lot of these places where the mulch wasn't very thick. There were just a couple spots, like you can see here, where these plants were the ones that survived the last storm. I wanted to make sure that they had a really good thick mulch right around their roots and around their stem, because this is going to insulate them from the cold. I am still going to come out and cover these plants with little pots or something to protect their very vulnerable leaves. You can see some of the damage they experienced. I don't want to expose them to something else that might just take them down. Every plant in this garden has some nice wood chip insulation. The other thing you can do is make sure and water your garden or water your plants before a freeze. It's just another measure of protection to protect them from freezing temperatures. So I'm going to run the sprinkler, although this ground is pretty moist. Going to run the sprinkler for probably 30-40 minutes to give them some extra water. And then I am actually going to come and cover specifically the plants that survived the freeze. And if I have enough, which I think I will, I'm just going to cover everything out here just to make sure we don't lose any more plants. So mulch, watering, and covering. Those are the three things that you can do to really protect your plants from a frost, even if they're supposedly frost tolerant, if you want to take that added measure of protection. And this can go into the warmer season if you have a late frost that you weren't expecting and you have plants out that are sensitive to the frost. Those are things you can do. Pull some mulch, whether it's straw or wood chips or even soil, up around the plants to insulate them. Give your garden or your plants a good water and then cover them. So I'll be covering them with frost cloth, which I talked about in my frost terminology video. You can cover them with pots. You can cover them with anything that you can find that won't blow off. You want to keep that in mind. If you put something on them that's really lightweight and there's any sort of wind, like I know we're supposed to have some winds, it's just going to blow off. So weigh it down with a rock or a heavy stick or something that'll keep it from blowing off, or just put a heavier cover on top of them. Pretty much everything out here is going to be getting some kind of cover, just to make sure that they pull through these next couple nights. Depending on the weather during the day, I may come out and uncover them, although it's not going to be too warm, so it shouldn't be a problem even if they stay covered throughout the day, because I think the high is like 41 or 48. They would be fine to stay under that covering. So if you have cold weather coming in like I do this week, next week, those are things that you can do to protect your plants. There's lots of things that you can do to pull through those late season unexpected frosts. So I hope that's helpful. We're going to be busy out here this afternoon covering these up, and I'll let you know how it goes. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and share these videos to help grow this audience and get this information out to those who need it. I love helping you guys learn how to garden, to develop your green thumbs, and I'm all about growing gardeners and your gardens. We'll see you in the next video.